You know, folks, one of the hardest parts about talking with MAGA day in and day out is getting them to understand that Donald Trump's presidency could have a negative impact on their life. They just cannot buy into that concept for 1 second. They really believe that he's the guy that has all the answers to their problems. And for the last 4 years, they've laid every bit of the blame at Joe Biden's feet. They could absolutely believe that Joe Biden just made their lives a living hell, and nothing we ever did to show them the good that Joe Biden was doing ever mattered, because they would say, well, but we can't feel it. The economy may be doing better, but we can't feel it. They can't feel it now either. But because Donald Trump is telling them he's going to make it all okay, they believe him because they've put all of their faith in him. And it's really hard to reason with people who react based on their faith in someone rather than based on the evidence that's right in front of them. But people's lives is going to get harder under this Trump presidency. We said here on the channel time and again that this presidency will be nothing but revenge and retribution. And a lot of people flexed at that and came back at me and said, yeah, hell yeah, we want to see him get revenge. We want to see him get retribution. And what they don't realize is that when he does, it's going to make their lives harder. And I'm sure they'll find a way to spin it that, well, this is coming down from Washington, or this is the Democrats doing it. You'll never hear them say this was Donald Trump doing it. But folks, this is Donald Trump doing it. And this one here is going to really hurt folks where I live. I grew up right on the state line of Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia, and this one is going to hurt Kentucky's economy firsthand. It'll be interesting to see if anyone ever puts the blame at Donald Trump's feet. We're going to read a little bit here from this article from the Business Insider, and then I'm going to play you a clip of Governor Andy Beshear over in Kentucky, who is absolutely on point with how we should be messaging about this whole thing. But first, let's look here at the Business Insider. Kentucky bourbon makers are up in arms about Canada yanking their bottles off shelves. This is really going to hurt Kentucky, folks. Kentucky bourbon makers are unhappy with Canada, which buys millions of dollars of whiskey a year from the state. In the days since Donald Trump's tariffs went into effect, several Canadian provinces have pulled U.S.-made alcohol from store shelves. And any U.S. alcohol any U.S. alcohol they buy could get more expensive. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said on Monday that he would impose a retaliatory 25% tariff on $155 billion worth of American goods. Eric Gregory, the president of the Kentucky Distillers Association, said in a Tuesday statement on X that the retaliatory tariffs would have far-reaching consequences across Kentucky, home to 95% of the world's bourbon. He said Canada's measures would jeopardize growth for years. Gregory's statements came as several Canadian provinces clamped down on the U.S.-made alcohol this week. Provinces such as Ontario and New Brunswick instructed owned alcohol retailers, which regulate the sale and distribution of alcohol in their regions, to pull the U.S. products from their shelves. Ontario's government instructed the Liquor Control Board of Ontario to immediately cease imports of U.S. alcohol and stop selling American products. On Wednesday, the government of New Brunswick said on Facebook that it wouldn't purchase any new alcohol products. The government said it had removed U.S.-made alcohol products from shelves. Quebec followed suit. Folks, I mean, this is, like I said, this is something that is really going to devastate Kentucky. The Canada-Kentucky agricultural trade totaled $691 million in 2023, while Kentucky exporting $43 million worth of whiskey to Canada that year, the Canadian government said on its official site. And Kentucky imported $40.3 million worth of whiskey from Canada. Folks, these things are absolutely going to affect Kentucky's economy and America's economy, and there will be people out there who will never look at this and see that this could have ever been Trump's fault at all. But this guy does not understand how tariffs work. He's using them as like this bullying tactic against our allies who we've always had good relationships with, and it's so weird to just sit back and watch a president go after our allies in the manner that he has and make them pay a price. And the people are sitting back cheering for him to do it. And what's even more strange to me is that people like me can't blame Canada for what they're doing. I can't look to Canada and go, you know what? I mean, I can't blame them for doing that because he's picking on them for no reason. And this picking on them is going to cause them to retaliate. Why wouldn't they? If the roles was reversed, I promise you we would be retaliating. So it's one of those things where they're rooting for Trump to go after our allies, and we're rooting for our allies to go after Trump, and it's just a really weird place to be. But this is absolutely Donald Trump's fault. It should be referred to as the Trump tax. It should be, every time these problems happen, we should refer to them as Donald Trump's problems. And Governor Andy Beshear of Kentucky is absolutely spot on in this next clip. Take a look at this, and then we'll talk more about it.
Hey everybody, it's Andy. Sadly, last night President Trump initiated tariffs on Canada and Mexico, and it's going to make our lives as the American people that much more difficult and everything that much more expensive. And let me tell you, this decision was made solely by President Trump. And the amount things will cost more is the Trump tax on you and your family. His tariffs on Canada and Mexico are going to raise the cost of vegetables, fruits, and meat at your grocery store. The extra amount you pay, that's the Trump tax. The tariffs on Canada are going to increase the price of gas. The extra amount you pay is the Trump tax. And then the tariffs on lumber are going to make buying that next home, getting that first home for a young couple, or renovating a home that much more expensive. That will be the Trump tax. And just wait, everything from automobiles to other major purchases you need to make are going to be that much more expensive. One person made this decision. It's a bad decision, and they can ultimately undo this decision. So what can you do? You can make your voice heard. You could say that you didn't vote for a president to increase prices. You voted for one to decrease prices. You can make your voice heard that says before you are a Democrat or a Republican, you are a provider for a family, and you deserve a government that makes life a little bit easier for you, not a lot harder. So get out there, raise your voice. Remember, it's the most important one. I'll be here fighting for you, fighting for us. Talk to y'all soon.
I've made no bones about it here on the channel. I am a huge fan of Andy Beshear, and the fact that I live right on the state line and Andy Beshear is Kentucky's governor and we're stuck with Bill Lee, that's pretty rough. Every day I say to myself, why can't we just swap? Because I really feel like that Andy is on point. And notice how Andy speaks. First of all, he starts off by saying, hey folks, it's Andy. That's a Southern thing. We approach each other on a first name basis. And he doesn't sit there and call Trump supporters names. He doesn't sit there and call Donald Trump names. And if he did, who could really blame him? But that's not the approach he takes. He just comes with a dose of reality. He just comes with a dose of the truth and lays it out in a way that's easy to understand. He puts the blame where it belongs, and then he says to the people, hey, get out there and let your voices be heard. Let people know that you didn't vote for this. Notice he didn't call anybody an idiot for voting for Trump. He didn't talk down to people. He didn't say, well, to all you people here in Kentucky who's going to suffer from this, this is what you voted for, so have at it. That's not what he said. That's a reasonable person, and that guy's one of us. And that's what I will never understand again about people in my part of the world is you was willing to latch on to this spray-tanned celebrity that never walked down a dirt road in his life, doesn't know any of the struggles we've ever faced in this world, but yet you'll get mad at Andy for saying the things he said when deep down in your gut somewhere you have to know that he's right and he's one of us. And when he said that about J.D. Vance, he ain't from here, that's a supreme insult in our part of the world. It truly is. If you say that boy ain't from around here, that is one of the biggest insults you can give somebody. And it just goes to show that the only reason that anyone in MAGA would latch on to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance is to empower their hatred. That's it. Because if you stuck in the real world, you would stick with people like Andy. If you stuck in the real world, you would stick with one of your own and you would listen to them before you would listen to a fake Appalachian and a celebrity apprentice host tell you that they have your best interest at heart. Folks, they don't. And this is something that's going to really hurt Kentucky. And when it happens and they say to us, well, this was Democrats or this come down from Washington. No, this came straight from Donald Trump and his inability to govern. So we need to put it where it belongs. This is the Trump tax. This is Trump's fault. If you could buy into the idea that Joe Biden made everything in your life miserable, then if you could buy into the idea that a president could do that, then couldn't you also think that Donald Trump could do the same, especially if all he's wanting to do now is just get back at Democrats? He doesn't care about governing. He doesn't care about people. He sure as hell doesn't care about Appalachian people, and neither does the fake Appalachian that works under him. So I truly appreciate everyone for your support here on the channel. We're continuing to grow, and I really appreciate it every day. I check my analytics and statistics, and I'm just always surprised by the growth. I really appreciate everyone for tuning in. If you like the kind of content I do and you haven't hit that subscribe button, it doesn't cost anything to do so, so be sure to do that. Also, you can follow me over on Patreon. I've been putting a lot of content over there that's, not as political. Sometimes we try to, talk about albums and we talk about music. And I'm going to be talking about this book pretty soon that I'm reading. This is a really good one, Where the Devil Don't Stay, Traveling the South with the Drive-By Truckers. This is really good. I'm just about 1 or 2 chapters into this thing, and it's really good, so I'll probably be breaking that down over on Patreon. We do stuff like that. We break down books. We talk about records. And we have interviews with musicians, a lot of cool stuff going on. So the link to that is in the description of this video. So be sure to check that out, and I just appreciate everyone's support. And I really hope to see Andy Beshear on the national stage. I really believe, I hate making predictions, but I'll just say that we need that. I just think that I go back to like the last time that Democrats really connected with the working class. They always did it with a Southerner, and so I will always be a fan, and I will always be sitting back pulling for Andy Beshear.